guys, I'm Bill and welcome to Bill's How To. Today I'm going to show you guys a few tips and tricks to get a perfect finish when you're painting walls every single time. Let's get straight into it, guys. Let's do this. Alright guys, so I'm painting a house here today. I've left one wall so that I can show you guys a few tips and tricks. A lot of people struggle when it comes to painting walls. There's only a few little things that you guys need to know how to do to get a perfect finish every single time, and also the materials or products that you're using. So I'll quickly show you guys what we're using to make sure that you get a perfect finish. Number one is the paint. Don't buy cheap paint, because even if you manage to get it on the wall with a nice perfect finish, it's not generally durable paint. And what I mean by that is you need something that's going to be durable, something that can be washed later on down the track. So if you do happen to get marks on there, it's not going to absorb it and take on that stain. You're going to be able to use a wet rag and simply wipe it away. Now, with regards to what I like to use, personally, I like to use Taubman's Endure. You can get Dulux Wash and Wear. It's just a little bit more expensive, but it's exactly the same product as far as I'm concerned. You're going to find the same kind of texture, same kind of quality in the paint. And the reason why I say that is because if you get really cheap paint, generally it's watered down, and it's going to make it a lot harder to get good coverage on the wall. It's going to make it a lot harder for you to get a nice flat, consistent finish, lay off your paint, and it's also going to splatter everywhere, which leads me to my next thing, your roller. Don't ever buy a cheap roller, because you're going to make your life hard. Even if you've been painting for 20, 30 years, if you take on a cheap roller, it's going to splatter paint everywhere. Your coverage isn't going to be good, so your paint and your roller go hand in hand. What I like to use is this one here from Oldfields. This is I'd like to say it's a good secret that most people overlook. Don't buy a cheap one. If you buy a cheap one, you're going to get all the fibers from the roller into the paint. It's going to splatter once again. It's just not going to give you that nice, easy, flowy, consistent roll with your roller. So make sure you spend a little bit extra. This one here is about $11 to $12 for a roller, so it's not very expensive. Even though you can buy one for like $3, it's not worth the $7, $10 saving. Just simply buy a good roller, buy some good quality paint. Overall, it's going to be just a small expense for a big project. Now, it all comes down to preference with regards to what you want to carry your paint in. I like these rocket paint covers here, or paint buckets, sorry. So these ones here are real handy, nice little handle, they're solid. And what I like to do is, rather than washing everything out when I'm finished, I actually buy these little sleeves. There's a little plastic sleeve in here that just simply drops in, specifically designed for this bucket here, and that one there costs about $4. So I usually use my paint for the whole house, chuck out that sleeve once I'm finished, and my bucket's ready to go. I can even swap over paint straight away and start painting doors or trim or whatever it is that I'm doing. So the last thing to keep in mind is just a good quality brush, and what I mean by that is don't buy the cheapest thing in the world. Once again, it's cheap for a reason. Your bristles are going to be really stiff and it's going to leave you brush marks. You want something mid-range. It doesn't have to be expensive. This one here is from Monash. It costs about $25, but generally anything from about $10 up is going to be a good quality brush. You're going to be able to wash that out as well once you're finished, and then you can reuse it for your next project. So the first thing you want to do is cut in all the edges around using your brush, and what I like to do is just simply not overload the brush. You'll notice that I've only got a bit of paint on the tip of the brush there. That's probably the most important thing here. That's all you need. You're not going to get any drips or anything everywhere. It's not going to load up all into the back of the bristles, which is going to run down your arm. So just keep only a little bit of paint on your brush there, and that's going to help you get a lot more control. Now with the ceiling here, as I'm cutting in under the cornice, what I like to do is just simply draw a line underneath. That way I've got a little reference point. Not sure if you guys can see that little glare there, but all I do is I just draw the line there. That loads up the paint underneath. And then what I can do is just simply pick up that paint, I come up to the edge and then run it all the way across nice and easy. Now it does take a little bit of practice, but the upside about this is anybody can do it. If you don't have any experience, all you need to do is just simply take your time. You can bring it up to that edge, put your brush down. I'll show you guys a little bit closer here. So just put your brush down, twist it a little bit, and you'll notice those bristles there pop out. So once again, push it down, twist a little bit, and you're going to get the edge of the bristles there. As you get the edge of the bristles, you can create a nice straight line, nice and simple. Always, always, always feather off your work. And the reason why we do that is if it dries and it's still very solid as it was there with the initial line, you're going to get hard lines, and as you come to roll over the top of that work, it's not going to level out, it's not going to be nice and smooth. You're going to be able to see those brush marks, you're going to be able to see those hard edges, so always make sure that you feather off your work. So once again, follow it all the way through, make a line underneath, pick up that little bit of excess paint from the bottom, which I like to think of as a reservoir. Then we've got that hard line underneath, just simply go over the top of it like this. And that's now ready. You don't even have to roll it straight away. You can even let it dry, come back after it's dry, roll it in, and it's all gonna blend in perfectly. So we're gonna repeat the process all the way down, and then I'll show you guys what we do on the edge of the wall and also on the bottom. So now we're up to the edge here. If you're painting the wall next to it, then you can do both at the same time. That way you won't have to move your ladder again afterwards. So if you're doing both walls, you can go straight down the middle like that. Then feather everything off onto the side. Make sure you've got enough paint there. And as you come to the top here, once again, push that brush in, twist those bristles, and it's going to give you a little point on the edge of the bristles there. So you can see I brought it hard up against the top. Come back this way, feather everything off so that we can roll it on, and it'll be a nice transition. Same thing on the other side. If you've got too much paint on your brush, just simply dab it on the side there, bring it across, and then once again just bring off all that excess build-up of paint that you've got on the side. You can either continue on along the edge here, or you can run straight down the wall. Now if you're only painting this wall only, pretty simple, just simply do a little line once again as we did up the top. That way we're going to bring all that reservoir paint right here, which is just a little build-up of paint. You can take your brush, go straight to the edge, and guide it all the way down. Now if you have a lot of experience, you can do it all in one go. If you don't, then you can just simply go slowly like this, run it down bit by bit. If you see any lines, just go over the top, feather it all out, repeat the process all the way down, and then I'll see you guys on the bottom skirting board. So now we're at the base of the wall now. If you're wondering why I haven't got drop sheets, we're replacing the flooring here, so I'm not too concerned about it. What we're going to be doing here is the exact same thing we did on the cornice, and that is get just a little bit on the tip of the brush there. You're going to draw a line, probably about an inch or so, so a couple centimeters up above your finish line. That way we've got a big build-up of paint right here. And what we want to do with that, because now we've emptied out the brush, you can start down the base here. Once again, push your brush in, and once you put that pressure on it, it's actually going to start stretching those bristles out. You're going to create a nice little point, and you can just follow that line all the way across. You go back to where you've got your excess paint, feather it off once again, and you're just going to simply repeat it. Now it's a very simple process. A lot of people get worried about doing this themselves and they want to pay somebody to do it. It's honestly very, very easy. It's just something that takes a little bit of experience, a little bit of knowledge, and the only real downfall to doing it yourself is rather than being able to complete something in 5 minutes, it might take you a whole day. Now, if you're willing to learn and save some money in the process, then this is the best bet for you. Now, we've got here the power point, and this one here looks like a data point as well, an antenna point. Now the cover's missing on this one here. Some people like to remove the covers. It all comes down to the type of house, the type of covers that you've got. I don't like personally to go around removing covers because sometimes they break. They might be brittle, you might have a loose connection at the back, could be a whole range of different reasons. And what I like to do is just simply take my time, go around the edges of the power point here. This one here's already got paint on it, so that's not my problem, but with the same thing here, anything that's basically more than a handspan in width, the roller's not going to be able to fit in there. So you want to make sure that you get your brush and remove those brush marks as much as possible. So just keep feathering it out using only the tip of the brush. You don't want to paint like this because that's not how you paint. I see a lot of people do that. Just simply use the tip of the brush and it's going to get rid of all those brush marks. Now with this section here, just brush it all out so that it's nice and flat. You can bring your roller at the end, bring it down as close as possible. Anywhere you can fit the roller in, you give it just a little wipe, and I'll show you guys how to do that in a second. Now over this part here where the power points is, I just draw a little line like that. Once again, we've got a little reservoir of excess paint here, or excess paint. Twist those bristles and just bring it in nice and tight. Once again, bring it in nice and tight, feather that all off. Same thing on this side here. Follow it all the way around. feather all of that excess paint out. That way when we do roll up to it, it's going to be nice. It's going to have a very nice transition. You won't even notice the difference between brush marks and your rolling. Any hard lines or brush marks that you see, just get rid of those. That's now ready to go. We'll continue on all the way down here on the skirting board, all the way to the end of this wall, and then I'll show you guys a few tips and tricks on how to roll. So when it comes to rolling and sealing, make sure you get a little extension pole like this one here. It's going to make your life much easier. You don't have to bend down and up. Sometimes you might have to remove the pole to get into tighter areas, but generally extend this as much as you can and it's going to make your life so much easier. It actually helps with the rolling as well. It's going to be very smooth on the way up and down. Now with regards to direction, a lot of people like to say to paint in an M shape or a W shape. Honestly, you can paint any direction you like as long as you go over the same area twice. That's for coverage, and that you lay everything off. So that means if you manage to get a hard edge on the side or a mark from a roller, you just simply roll over the top of it nice and light, make sure everything's blended in nicely. So now we can load up our roller with paint. And before you transfer it from a bucket over to the wall, gravity's going to want to do its job and the paint's going to want to run down the roller, which means it'll drip on the floor by the time you get to the wall. So what you do in that case is after you've laid everything off here, you've got rid of that excess from your roller. As you lift it up, you'll notice that it wants to run down the base of the roller there and drop on the floor. So you simply turn it over before you transfer this over to the wall. That's going to give you the maximum amount of time without having it drip everywhere. Even if I left it now for a couple of extra seconds and I wanted to have a chat, I can turn that one there back over and it's going to start the process all over again. So once we bring it over to the wall now, always start from the top and run your paint all the way down. So you want to go just a little bit before where we finished off our line with the cutting. From there, bring it all the way down. And that's going to be a really thick amount of paint. So we stop once again on that brush mark that we did for our cutting. And it's going to be a very thick amount of paint on there. So we bring it back up over to the side of it. So you can see that I went to the one side now. And then I come back here, I pick up that excess paint and I just bring it all the way across on top. Now everybody's got their own way of doing it or their own style, method, whatever it is. This is the way that I like to do it. From there, I'll run it all the way down. And you always need to go over the same area twice. And the reason why you want to do this is for coverage. So we're going to bring this over as close as possible to that edge now. Bring it all the way up. And then go back down a little bit over now. So we're overlapping. So every time we're doing this, we're overlapping the previous side that we just did. And we're making sure that we don't have any paint marks. So over here, I've got a big edge from the excess paint on the edge of the roller. Once again, you don't want to start in the middle, always start from the top or from the bottom. So if you're trying to correct something, you can make a line all the way down just like that. It's obviously better to keep your roller on the wall all the time, but if you have to take it off, just don't start from the middle because that's where your eyes are always going to be drawn to. So just start from the top, run it all the way down, and then all the way back up. So now we finish this section here. I've got a little hard edge here. What I like to do before I load up, sometimes you might get caught up or your phone starts ringing. So just on the edge here, just run the roller down a little bit light over the top. That's going to flatten out that little excess paint that you've got on the edge there. We'll repeat the loading up of our paint here. Alright, so now we've loaded up our roller once again. When I start, I don't personally like to start right here. I like to start probably about half a metre away, and we'll repeat the same process. So we go all the way down, back up, and this is something that just takes practice. You'll know roughly how much distance you're going to get with each roller of paint. So from here, once again, go all the way up, and you can see I'm going as close as I can to the corners, but it doesn't have to be that hard up against it. So all we're doing is we're just blending the two textures together now. Bring it all the way across to where we finished off before. Bring it all the way down, and then back up. And you just repeat the process. Now, like I said, you can paint in any direction. It doesn't matter if you're painting sideways, if you're painting on a diagonal angle, What matters is how you finish off the paint. So I might actually bring you guys in a bit closer. I'll just finish this section here off and I'll show you guys what I mean. So I've taken the pole off just to show you guys. Now, if you do in a W shape or an M shape like they're saying, that's fine. It doesn't really matter which direction. Like I said, you can go across this way, you can go on a diagonal. All we're trying to do here is just lay off the paint, because if I go in one direction and then I go in the opposite direction, you can see there we've got a little edge that runs all the way along there when I went in two different directions. So the way you fix this is just by laying everything off. So just go nice and light, no pressure on the roller. All we're doing is just picking up all that excess paint and just leveling everything off. So you can see there, that's now completely flat. So now that we've got just a little section here, I'm going to bring you guys back out. We're going to start again with the same process and we're going to move down to our PowerPoints. I'll show you how to get around those as well. Alright, so once again, we're going to start here where we did that little test patch. Go all the way down. Now what I like to do is work to an edge of a PowerPoint, bring it as close as I can, and then go all the way up. I do that on both sides of the PowerPoint, just so that I get one nice consistent line. As we come down here, you can choose to either go down the same angle going down and try and stop it, but it becomes a little bit hard to see what's underneath the roller. So what I like to do is just simply go in on a side angle, down the bottom here, depending on how much space you've got. I run the roller in there as well, even though we've already used the brush. This is just going to give it that finished texture, so you won't see any difference. Once again, half and half, so we overlay the previous work by half and just go all the way through. And that's why it's important to always have a wet edge. So last time when we worked over here, remember I went over it just slightly on the edge when I finished. And the reason why I did that is if it dries or for whatever reason I get caught up somewhere else, I can always come back and finish off where I left off and I won't have those hard lines. So if you see anything you're not happy with, you can just run the roller straight back through that, pick up any of that excess paint. And once you hear it, or feel it, because you can feel and hear once your roller's drying out, stop where you are. Once again, feather off that edge just a little bit. It's not necessary to do, but it's a good habit to get into, that way you won't run into any problems. Come back, load up your roller, and continue on. Alright, so I'm going to let this one here dry for probably about half an hour or so. I'll repeat the same process for a second coat and then I'll come back and I'll show you guys what it looks like once it's completely dried. And once it's all complete, this here is the finished product. We've got a perfectly painted wall. We've got no roll marks, no streak marks. Everything's perfectly uniform, which is exactly what you want when you finish painting a wall, simply by using good quality paint, good quality roller, and just following those little tips and tricks that I've shared with you guys in this video. A lot of people don't like to share that information because then you can't do it yourself, you can't save yourself some money, but hopefully now that you guys have watched this video, you'll be able to get out there, do it yourself and save some money. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, you've learned something new. As always, like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Bill. Thanks for watching Billshowto.